This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we're understanding something related to rule delegation. So where we can give these rules for the real users also. That is like if you go for actions, if we click on this delegate option is what we see. So delegating meaning delegating this rule to so and so. Who is that so and so? So not all the users, right? Suppose I'm trying to delegate this for the real users. Real users might be a clerk, okay, or normal level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. So I wanted to give this access only for the top level 5 managers or for all the users. So within this delegate, again, we'll be having some options. And that too, you cannot delegate all the rules. So can you delegate an activity for them? Even we cannot design activity properly. How can we delegate this activity for them? Or how can we delegate a data transform rule for them? So we cannot delegate all the rules. So mainly we'll be delegating few rules. Sorry, we'll be delegating paragraph rule, and there will be some other rules called decision tables, decision rules, correspondence. So these are the major rules. For now, I'll tell the rule names, and you have to understand in future. So we know what is the paragraph. So paragraph rules is something like what I can able to make my customization. This will be looking like notepad only. So I can delegate paragraph rule. There will be something called decision tables also. I'll talk about what is a decision table in coming classes. We can delegate these rules as well. Since we are in the rule set discussion, I wanted to put this point itself here. So decision table, there will be something called decision tree also. We'll talk about all these things coming classes. And there will be something called correspondence rules. So correspondence rules also will be exactly looking like a paragraph. So I can create one correspondence rule. You don't know what is that still, but just try to imagine that also will be looking like an exactly paragraph rule. And where we use this in sending one emails. Okay, suppose I wanted to change from address from orders@amazon.com to something like billing@amazon.com. Just to make this minimal change, you need not contact any developer. So you can just make those changes in these rules. So the only maybe these will be the rules. You cannot delegate all the rules. So these will be the rules. So sometimes map value also. So these will be the minimal rules. So these rules are generally to be given access for the real users. For that, you will be having delegate option available. If you go to actions, you will be having something called delegate. You will not find this for all the rules. Open a section or a data transform, you will not find this. So delegation is something like where we are trying to give access for the real users. Suppose if I click on this one, I'm clicking on delegate. So here we have to define something. It's like access level. Access level I have to define. So access level meaning who all are available for that access, they will use this. So I can define individual manager operator ID. So if I define any manager operator ID, only that manager can able to access this. And if we are trying to define something called set of access, suppose if there are 10 clerks working in our bank, if any of those clerk is okay to change, then instead of giving access for clerk 1, clerk 2, 3, 4, instead of giving individual access, there will be something called access group. So there will be something called access group. So clerk 1 will be connected to that access group. Clerk 2 will be connected to that access group. Clerk 3, 4. So if we are having 10 such members, and if those 10 members are of equal access, there will be something called access group. And if we give access for that access group, that is enough. I am giving access for that access group. So if we just check in yesterday's class, So this is the operator what we have created earlier. And then we have created one more operator ID called maybe with the new name. So these two are of equal level, right? These two are developers. Likewise, there will be 10 other operators of equal testers level or equal users level. So we'll be having some kind of equal access level people. So these two are of equal access that will be decided based on access group. I'll talk about all these things in detail. Okay, so here there will be something called access group. So this is one access group and operator 1 is connected to this one. Operator 2 also will be connected to this. Operator 3 likewise 10 members if they are connected to same access group, and if we give direct access for that access group, okay, I'm giving direct access group name. If I give access for, I'm giving this paragraph rule access to for this whole access group, meaning if there are 10 particular operators connected to that access group, they can straight away access all these things. So operator 1 should get access on this paragraph. Let me know if you're facing any kind of understanding things. So developer 1 can able to access this. Developer 2 can access this rule. Developer 3, everyone got access, right? Now I'm just defining this at access group level, or you can define it at individual operator level also. So I'm defining something like update terms and conditions with some name. I'm just clicking on delegate. I'm just clicking on delegate. So what happened? This rule got delegated to whom? To a set of people. Access group meaning set of people. Now if I am part of that set, I am so and so operator who is part of so and so access group 1, and that access group 1 got this rule to be accessed. Now if I'm real user, what I'll do in the morning? I'll just log in, and here I'll be coming into this user portal. I'm a bank employee now. I'll be coming into this user portal. Now I can suppose if my business is asking me to update terms and conditions, if a manager, bank manager is asking, I should be doing that, right? For that there will be something called configuration tab. Don't think like these real users will be opening Dev Studio and they have to open that respect to class, they have to open that respect to paragraph rule, and they have to update it generally. That is what I am doing as a developer. So if I wanted to make any modifications in this particular rule, log in as a developer, open that respect to class, open that paragraph and make modifications. But the real users, since I'm trying to delegate this, they have to change, they have to make modifications, and for that they will do without accessing a Dev Studio. They don't know what is Dev Studio also. So since changes are very minimal, we are trying to delegate the rules for them. For that they will be just using this configuration tab. Okay, so if they click on this configuration tab, what are all the rules delegated for them they can access? We can see that something called update T and C. So can they understand whether this is a paragraph rule or not? So by just seeing this they cannot understand. And additionally I wanted to delegate one more thing also, one more thing. So if I'm delegating 5 rules, they will be given with common name, description, nothing more than that. They'll not understand what is paragraph, what is decision table, what is all these things. So they'll be just getting those respect to name, and if they wanted to make any modifications, click on edit, and here they will be making the modification. That's it. So what they have to do here? So they wanted to include something like 8. Let us consider what they have to do. So can they straight away include 8? After they clicking on 8, what they have to do? They have to save it, right? What is the thing showing up? What is checkout for them? They don't know. They don't know what is checkout. they have to add the changes, they have to get an idea to check in back, they have to get the importance of all these things. Correct, right? They have to know importance of all these things. So is this really feasible for them? So I'm just trying to delegate this rule just to make very easy for them. I'm not letting them know that this is so and so paragraph rule. You have to open this, you have to check out, you have to open the class name. All these things should not be known for them. They will not understand also. They are real users. So if they click on this one, they should be in a position to make modifications. But before that, there is something called checkout. So here they have to check out, they have to add something, save and check in. So will this process be really feasible for them? Not possible. So if I close this, and here if I refresh, those changes will be impacting even for me. So what is happening? Whenever I am trying to delegate a rule to the real users, then I should not be having check-in check-out concept applicable. How to remove that? I don't want to show check-in check-out for them. So we have added it manually, right? We can remove it, right? How to remove? Where to remove? Anyone?
Version, sir. Particular version.
No. So I wanted to remove check-in check-out option for this particular thing. Because I'm delegating this rule, I should not get these options showing up for them. How to remove this checkout? So I should be having only save option. Okay, meaning developer option should not be there. How to do that? Yesterday we have added it. Where did we add? So we have opened that application definition, and we have opened that respect to rule set. Where did we create? Framework, right? So I have opened that respect to rule set. This is the one, and I'm just removing this. Where is that? Go to security. I'm removing this. Let me save. So this is the one, right? Okay. Now the real user, once they are clicking on this, they have lost checkout option. Correct only, no? Fine. So what happened? I am trying to remove checkout option for this. Now let me open some other flow rule or anything. Or let me open section. So where did we create? Did we create any version 2 rules? Section. This we have created, right? Customer details we have created in section number 2. So what is happening? So what is happening? I don't have checkout option. If that is the case, yesterday we have seen 2 developers will be struggling a lot. What is the point here? So we are trying to apply check-in checkout at rule set level, not even version level or not even rule level. So I am trying to remove this checkout. I'm removing this at what? This particular rule set. Rule set meaning this rule set can have multiple versions, version number 1 to version number 100, and within first version again I can have different instances. So if I'm trying to remove checkout option, all these things will be removed. In that process, okay, so first one we have locked anyway. Suppose if version number 1 is unlocked, we'll be having save option also. So what are we understanding? So if we are trying to delegate any rule, that rule should not be in our development rule set. So I am trying to use this rule set for what? My development. Correct, right? So I'm trying to use this rule for my development, and there should not be parallel development process. So that is the reason I have to apply check-in checkout concept. If that is the case, in production it will be throwing some disturbance for us. So remember, if you are trying to delegate any rules, That is like real users has to work on it. And if those rule sets are locked, they cannot work. And if I am using that rule set even for my development, I have to lock it, it will be clashed there. So point here is, if you are trying to delegate any of the rule, you should not use our development rule sets. If I'm using development rule set, I have to lock, they cannot work on it. So we have to create new rule set. So you can just click on something like add rule set, and you can just include something like prod rule set, something like, you have to give one number also, 0101. I'm trying to create one new rule set. We can just create. You have to click on add rule set first of all. So here we have to define. Let me click on this. Okay. So we have to add first a rule set, create a rule set, and there we'll try to define. Suppose if I'm trying to add this one, and if I'm saving it, what will happen? This particular rule set will be created. What is it? Okay, I'll show you. So this particular rule set will be created. So once this rule set got created, prod rule, something like 01-01. I'm trying to create new one. So just to create and open. So this will be the rule set name, this will be the version, and create and open. So one rule set got created, and I wanted to use this rule set. Where is that? Okay, somewhere here. Okay, so I'm trying to use somewhere it here. Suppose if I use this here, again hierarchy will be coming into picture, right? So whenever I'm trying to request for any rule, if that rule is available here, and if that rule is available here, what will happen? So this is the development related rule set. I have included with 4 terms and conditions, and I have delegated that rule for real user. And if that rule is in this same rule set, I have to unlock, which is not possible. So I'll be save asing that rule into our respective new rule set, and here he will be making the changes. And in that scenario, what will be the order of rule set picked up? So this will be first one, second, third. So no point of adding the rule set here. So we are supposed to include somewhere at the top. So order will be changed. We know what is the order, right? So I'm having created with one rule set. And now what is our next thing? You have to save as this rule. So I'm trying to save as this rule into the new rule set. You should be getting that last one now. So if you're trying to create and open, what is that? Okay, so I'm just creating for testing purpose. So now I'm creating this rule somewhere in the production rule set. Now if I'm trying to save this, and for this particular rule set, there should not be check-in, check-out. So you can just open that one, go to security, remove this, and save. So if you are trying to, so there is some rule set which is already there. I am discarding my changes. So did you understand what is the error? So the error here is, within this particular rule set, there are rules which are of checked out. So how can you remove this option? So you have to discard. Okay, you have to discard. It should be in the logged state. Then you can remove this option and you can save. Okay, now checkout option is removed. Now if we are just trying to refresh this, that option will be there. So meaning, if you are trying to delegate any rule, you will be first doing it in your development rule sets, Kotak banking or something. Post that, I wanted to delegate this for my real users. Real users has to work on this even in the production. meaning this particular rule should not be locked. For individual rule will not have locking concept. For individual version also will not have. For rule sets will be having. That is the reason we'll create one new rule set, and that rule set will be accessed only by the real users, meaning all my delegated rules should be available in that. Only delegated rules will be in the production rule set, which should not be locked. Okay, fine. And that too, this production rule set, so this let me open this. So here we are trying to create all our rules, right? So this should not be locked. So this technically needs to be called as production rule set. All these are general application rule sets, and this is to be called as production rule set. And this production rule set, if you're trying to include at the top position, this will be working fine. Or else, if we just scroll down, there will be something called advanced. So there will be something called advanced. So here straight away we are having something called production rule sets. Okay, so you will not make any changes in these things. You have to just understand how the behavior will be. No one will ask you to create production rule set. So no one will ask you to make rule set hierarchy changing. So this will be on the day one decided itself. So this will be the thing maintained for our production rule set. And during your development scenario, you will be creating that rule in your Kotak banking. And if that needs to be delegated, you will be creating it in the production rule set. So what is the production rule set? You have to ask your manager, or else you can scroll down and you can check event directly here. So here, if it is mentioned anything, so this will be considered like a production rule set. If not, you can just include this as the first one. So meaning this will be considered into picture for the first. After that, this will be executed. Understanding, right? So this hierarchy will be executed. So I don't require, or I don't need anything to be specifically mentioned as a production rule set. I can just include some, I can create one new thing for me, and I can maintain all my production related rules, and I can consider that as a production rule set. You need not create anything specific under this one, or you need not make any other settings anywhere. You can just maintain one thing like this with any customized name, and you can just use that only for the delegated rules. So this technically should be called as production rule set. So production rule set, suppose if I'm trying to check for the hierarchy, so did I not save this? So we are seeing production rule set also coming into the top. So what we are understanding, I am just trying to create a rule set, so and so rule set that I don't want to lock, I wanted to include only delegated rules. So this should be the thing, this should be the approach. So we are understanding what is the concept of rule delegation and what is the concept of production rule sets. Fine. Now you are accessing, or you are giving access for this rule for the third party users, for the users. So they can open their portal, go to configuration tab, and they can customize. If they are making any changes here, so they will not get anything like these options. So we'll be getting prod rule only. I mean, like it's respect to rule set only. Suppose if the bank manager or the clerk, if they're clicking on delete, as a developer, I can able to create a rule, and if it is deleted, I can restore. I can just go to dev studio and restore. What about these things? So we'll be removing delete option also. Okay, so we will not give complete access for them. Only update access is what we have to define, not delete access, not creation access. So here they can just simply click on create. They can go to actions, click on create. So this should be done only by the developer, right? Why these people needs to create? So there should not be create option also, and there should not be delete option also. So this rule is just to modify only right access. Only update SQL query should work, not delete query, not insert query. So we'll work on this when we are working with security concepts in PEGA. For now, you have to just understand the approach and to what extent you have to understand. So for now, once I'm trying to delegate a rule, I can see this one showing up for him. This is the real user, he can see this. Suppose if I wanted to remove the delegate access. So if I wanted to remove the delegate access, how? Any guess? Again, if we click on delegate, delegate only. It is already delegated. I wanted to remove access for that person.
Go to access groups and remove.
What access group? Will you change the access group completely? So if I change the access group, so who are having that access, they will be accessing, right? So if I click on delegate, so this is mandatory. So for the first 10 people, I'm giving so and so access, meaning access group is what I'm defining. And suppose if you are changing separate access group, for that people, they will be given access, right? I don't want to go for that. I wanted to completely remove that. So you will not directly get an option to delete or to roll back the delegation process. So how to do that is our question number 1. Fine. Suppose now I'm a developer. So I have created this some change. This is in version number 1. Suppose my manager, development manager, he has created version number 2 in this production for some reasons. So I'll be save asing this into version number 2 and I'll be making some other changes and save it. So what happened? First of all, production rule set version number 1 I have created with 4 terms and conditions and I have delegated to the user. So real user, they can open that and they can see the 4 things and they can modify if required. Fine. So rule 1 version number 1 got delegated for it. Now from the development perspective, I have created second version, and second version I'm adding 5 more changes, meaning total 10 terms are there. So now if the real user, if they're trying to click on configuration tab, so will he be getting like version 1 related rule picked up or version 2? I have delegated only first version, right? Now after that I have created save as this latest version 2. I did not delegate it. Correct. I did not delegate it. So only version number 1 I have delegated. So if the real user, if they're clicking on this one, will it show 4 rules or 4 terms and conditions or 10? 10 meaning second version.
Only
4
4.
meaning first version. Only 4. Online people also saying 4. Meer kuda 4 antunar. Only 4. Any other thing? Will it show for anything? Will it show like 10 things, 10 options? So while delegating, are you getting any option like only this version has to be delegated? Am I selecting anywhere like version number 1 only or only this? So if I'm creating 10 later versions, those should not be delegated. Are we having any such options? No. So delegation process meaning I'm trying to delegate a rule, not a version. So delegate rule delegation, not version delegation. I'm delegating this paragraph rule. If that is the case, as I told you, while we are trying to pick up a rule, PRPC has to follow some algorithm to check the best instance, right? So by default, it will be picking up the highest version only, no? So if the real user opening that, he has to get the highest one. He will not get the previous versions. So as part of this algorithm, we call it rule resolution algorithm. Rule resolution algorithm. I'll talk about this. This will be very, very big topic. So as part of this algorithm, PRPC while processing, it has to pick up the highest version only. It might be in delegation process or it might be in the normal process. It has to pick up the highest version only. So The real users, they have to get the latest one and they'll make the changes. Fine. So the question here is how to roll back. I wanted to remove the delegation access. How to do that? Every interview they'll ask you this question. How to delete this? So here, if I click on configuration, I'll be getting maybe 10 options. If 10 rules are delegated, I have to show him 10 options, right? He has to click on first one, he has to make changes, or second, third, all these things. So what will happen if I click on configuration tab? There should be some data to be fetched out. From where it has to be fetched out? Database table on, no other option. So on clicking on this, there should be some SQL query to be executed, and that SQL query, what it has to do? So it has to interact with so and so table, and then it has to fetch out all the delegated rules for this particular operator. So there is some repository maintained, right? So I'll be having a table with the 10 records. If I have delegated 10 records will be there. And remember, PRPC will never interact with the tables directly. We know that. We have seen in OBJ browse, OBJ open, all these things. So PRPC will never interact with the tables directly. So it has to be interacting with its related class in the front end. So for the table, there should be a class. What is the class name? Anyone? Any guess? System? Huh? System? What is that? My rules అని ఉంటుంది ఎక్కడ system data. So there will be one class name system user my rules. Okay, so this is the class name. So if I click on this respect to class, then we can see all the delegated rules. Okay, we can see all the delegated rules. If we click on delegate for two times click chesi untam. Okay, so this is the earlier one. I'm sorry, let me close this. So this is a table. So what we're understanding, there will be one class. This class name is very, very important, and this class has got a table also, right? 100% this should be a concrete. So check for the definition, concrete, and what is its table name? So PRSys users. Okay, PRSys users. So this is the table name. So whenever we are trying to click on this configuration tab, we are getting few results showing up. So then what is it doing? It is executing activity with what method? Multiple records. What method? OBJ browse. It has to execute OBJ browse from what class? System user my rules. What is the condition to be applied? What is the condition? So this operator has got so and so access group, right? So it will be checking whether operator access group is equal to these access groups, where operator access group is equal to these access groups. So what are all the rules matching with his access group? It will be picking up that. So finally I can able to see what are all the lists showing up here. I can understand from where it is fetching out. Now my question here is, I wanted to remove the delegate access. For that, you cannot do anything from the rule perspective. You have to do it from here only. So you have to just click on this one, and I can see this particular rule got delegated for him. Okay, so this particular rule is available in the favorites for him. Fine. Now here I am having another option like specific version. What is the specific version? If I click on this and if I click on save, what should happen? Any guess? So this particular rule is to be delegated only for that version. So now what is happening? So this particular rules at the last I can see. So we'll talk about PZ dynamics. I did not talk about PZ dynamics. So this particular rule got delegated. So this particular rule, if it is in version number 1, so if I click on delegate, So it will be creating with one new record in the table. And if I open that table and if I mark this option, then only that rule will be delegated for him. After that, if I'm creating version 2, 3, 4, 5 also, he cannot access the latest version. So this particular option is violating that algorithm. Algorithm is to check the highest version, and this is stopping that. And if I wanted to delegate maybe the third version, go for that particular version, again delegate. So in that process, you can delete this first one, right? You can delete this first one. So click on simply delete. That rule will be deleted. So there will not, it will not be available in his particular thing. So if I click on configuration, so it is showing blank. So in this way, you are supposed to remove the access for that particular access group. Access group meaning users only. So in this whole context, we are understanding what is rule delegation and what is production rule sets and how to create a new rule set. Earlier, we have seen how to create a new version. Within rule set, we have seen how to create a version. Now I am understanding how to create a new rule set. And in that rule set, how we have to unlock that particular rules. I don't want to use checkout option because these are to be used by the real users. So in the coming classes, we have to understand how to remove delete access also for them and how to remove create access. So if he is opening actions create, there is one option, right? So that should not be available. So how to remove that and how to remove delete option. And we're understanding where all these delegated rules will be available in what table and what is the class name and how to make this rule delegated only for specific version. Okay. Okay. And how to delete that particular delegated rule. So all this we are saying. Clear, right, everyone? What is rule delegation? And that too, this rule delegation will be given only for few rules, not all the rules. Only for the rules where the real users needs to work. Only for that rules only we'll be having this delegate option. Fine. Now let us understand similar kind of discussion but completely different. Okay, so let me open this particular rule. So did we create this rule in our normal rule set? Okay, so this is the one. Okay, fine. So I have created this in my normal rule set. So this is development rule set, right? So there should be check in, check out, right? So let us do that. Okay, so this particular rule is in our development related things. So 100% there should be check in, check out option applicable. Fine. So let us consider this is the paragraph rule where we are showing. So where we are showing 7 things. Okay. So including 7 things. So let me check in. So there is one terms and condition rule where we are showing 7 things. So this is completely different discussion. Now there are 2 projects parallelly happening. So developer 1 has to work on one project, developer 2 on the second one. Let us consider. So now today is August end. So tomorrow itself, maybe today night itself, August release changes are to be pushed. Monthly wise releases will be there. August release changes are to be pushed today itself. So just now we got the requirement that we have to add one more thing related to 8th one, and this has to be completed by end of the day. So meaning I'll be trying to creating this in the new version. This is the logged state, or I have saved as into the latest one, maybe the second one here. So second one is not at freezed. This is still in the development stage. So I am trying to click on checkout and I'm adding this 8th one, and I'll be closing, freezing it, testing team and other things. Parallelly, now itself, one more developer like you, he also should be working on the same rule and he has to include September release changes, next month release changes. As part of October, I have, sorry, not October, as part of this August, I have to include 8th one. And maybe your requirement is to include 9th, 10th, 11th, maybe very big change, let us consider. So two developers are parallelly working on this rule. Just to avoid that, what we are doing, we are just trying to include checkout concept. Parallel processing is not allowed. So August release person, he will be first clicking on checkout, and he will be spending till last minute, maybe till end of the day. And till that time, so September release person has to wait, right? So he's also running out of time. His manager is not allowing him to wait. So he cannot say like that person is still using. Okay, so that person wants this rule for 1 week, it seems. So should have to wait for 1 week. So these kind of things are not allowed. Suppose if you are giving access for him, okay, suppose if you are working for whole day, and if his change is very small, then he will request you to release the lock. Then he will click on checkout. He will click on checkout. He will be adding his changes. He will be adding his changes. He will check in. Then you will be clicking on checkout. You will be adding your changes. Then this particular rule has got 11 options. So 11 options from where, when I have to show? Maybe from September 1st, maybe from next month. So for this whole month, for next 30 days, I have to show only 1 to 8. For now, there are only 1 to 7. For next 30 days, I have to show 1 to 8. And after that, I have to show 1 to 11. So whatever the changes he is making should not be impacted now, right? But his manager is asking him to develop today itself, so that testing effort is very high. So he wanted to include his changes now itself, and you also wanted to work on the same thing. How to do? What to do here? So you can have it something created with another version. So version number 2, you can use it. My manager, he will ask me to create third version 010103. He will be working on that. So he will be checking out that rule, he will be adding his changes, and you will be checking out second version, you will be adding your changes, and your particular rule will be going for the production. Correct, right? Your particular rule will be going for. So today, today till 7th terms you are having, and this person is also save as in that rule, meaning he will be having 1 to 7. You are adding 8th one and pushing it, and he has to add remaining 3. Remaining 3 meaning whatever the changes you are making, how he'll get. Correct, right? He is taking the old copy. You are taking, you both are taking same copy. You're making your changes and pushing it, and he is working from today itself, and he has to include his changes on the old copy. How your changes will be added there? So after 30 days, maybe from today, next 30 days, your changes will be perfect. After that, his changes will be there, and maybe from the previous release changes, your changes will not be there. Correct, right? Meaning makes sense. So we are trying to do some kind of parallel development. Parallel development is possible if we create different versions. Within one version, parallel development is not at all possible. We are supposed to wait for one another. But here, since I should not wait, I am trying to create multiple versions. Version 1 for this, version 2 for this, version 3 for this. Suppose another developer, he has to work on the same rule, and maybe he has to make some other changes. He cannot wait for you or for second person. What he has to do? He has to create one more version. One more version. So if these changes are going at the last, first person, second, third, 3 persons are working parallelly. So these three has taken 3 different versions. every person is having rules, I mean like terms showing till 7 only. You are adding 8th one and sending it. And now second developer, he has to add his changes. Where he is adding on the old copy only, right? Your changes will not be there. So since this second person is sending to the production, then only his changes will be there. First person changes will be lost. Now third person, he is trying to add his changes on the old copy, meaning his changes will be there. Developer 1 will be lost. Developer 2 changes will be lost, meaning August release changes are lost. September release changes are lost. Directly he is adding October release changes on maybe July release. Correct, right? So creating or going for parallel development is correct scenario only, but if that is the case, one changes will be lost 100%. Some other changes are lost, parallel development meaning. So in that scenario, we are supposed to go for something called code retrofit. So there will be one technical word called code retrofit. What is code retrofitting? Suppose if I am developer 2, what I have to do? Since I have taken data from old copy, it is my responsibility to check whether previous changes are there or not. No one will blame earlier developer. Since I am releasing this at the latest, it is my duty to check whether previous changes are there or not. I have to sit with the previous developer and I have to include him. I have to ask him what are the changes you included recently. So I have to include his changes also in my latest copy. So this should be done manually. It cannot be done automatic. So this is technically called as code retrofitting, where you have to retrofit the changes sitting with the old, I mean like earlier developer, including his earlier changes. Okay, some you'll see these things lot many places in the real time. So once the deployment is done, there will be lot many complaints saying like old changes are lost. So previous changes are lost. So what happened there? Code retrofitting is failing. So this developer has taken some old copy and he has added his changes. In this process, he has ignored previous developer changes. Now, my changes are also done. I have retrofitted this with the old changes, and third developer, what he has to do? He has taken old copy earlier. He is working on that. If he is simply pushing that to the environment production, so his changes will be there on August release or July release. So developer 1 changes will be lost, developer 2's. So what is his duty? He has to take second latest copy. Developer 2 changes. Developer 1 changes anyway included in the second one, right? Code retrofit is done for that. Now developer 3, he has to sit with developer 2 or if required developer 1, then he has to retrofit all these things manually. So third rule has to be pushed up after manual retrofit is happening. So this is what. So in this whole process, if you are going for parallel development, creating with different rule set is option. But again, creating rule sets, creating these many ways rule sets is also not recommended. So within this 1 month of span, I am creating 3 rule sets or sometimes 10 rule sets or 20 rule sets. This is also not recommended because during rule picking up, what PRPC has to do? It has to pick up the highest version only. It has to pick up the highest version. So if we are trying to run a rule now, so we are still in the first developer situation. You are trying to create a rule. So in that rule, you are supposed to add the 8th changes, right? 8th terms and conditions. That is your requirement. And same day, third developer has created version number 3 also. Then if you are trying to run rule, what will happen? highest version has to be picked up. Highest version. So developer 1, if he is testing, third rule only will be picked up. If developer 2, I am using second version, and if I am trying to run the rule, that paragraph rule has got 3 versions, it has to pick up the highest version only, no? So third version only will be picked up. Then what is the point of discussing so far? What is the point of code retrofitting? What is the point of discussing all these things? Then where is parallel development happening? So if 3 developers are parallelly working on this, so within one rule set or within one version, it is not at all possible. It is very clear. So one should not wait for another. So I have to create 3 different versions. So in this process, if you are trying to test the rule, then what will happen? Since third version is also created, then you will not see your output. You will not see, because first version will not be picked up, or second version will not be picked up. Third version directly will be picking up. So third version will be directly picking up. So for the development environment, we'll be facing this error. Suppose consider testing perspective. Testing perspective, I'll be deploying only version number 1. In their server, 2 and 3 will not be there. For that, it is fine. But for the development, I'm having 3 versions, right? In that case, all the time latest one only, third one only will be picked up. Then how we can develop parallelly? So all this time talking about parallel development. Okay. So again, a problem. So that is the reason we'll come across something called branch rule sets. Okay, we'll be coming across something called branch rule sets. So we'll be having something called development branches. So we have to understand what is a branch and how we can able to achieve this. So there is something called development branch. So in the real time, no one will ask you to create n number of rule sets for you, n number of versions. So even if you're a manager, you will not create a new version for you. Suppose if you join one company today, and my client is thinking like whether to include Google Maps functionality or not. He's still in the doubt. My client, he just is still planning whether to include something called Google Maps here or not. He is not completely sure whether this will be achievable or not. So he is just in that particular plan. Now your manager, just to take the initiative, they'll say like, I'll try to create this and check to what extent this will be possible or not. He'll just take an initiative. So this particular initiative will be assigned to the respective team member. So this we technically called as, or sometimes called as, POC. So your manager will ask you to develop one POC on Google Maps. If this is working fine, I'll just demo this to the client so that he will think whether to proceed further or not. So these kind of things he will just think of it. Now currently this screen is showing up with version number 1. Let us consider. Now if you are trying to make some changes like including Google Maps, this is not possible with version number 1. This is locked. If you are creating second version, and you alone working on the POC, let us consider we all are working on normal development. So if I am trying to run this case, I'll see Google Maps also, whatever you are experimenting, that I'll see it, right? Because it has to pick up the highest version. So rule set versions creation is also not recommended all the time. So number of versions are also not to be created all the time. We have to create something called branches. Branch rule set is what you have to create. What is generally branch meaning? Diverting from the normal path. So I'm having a tree where I'm diverting. So you are trying to develop something apart from the normal development. For that we have to go for branches. So branch rule set is what I have to understand. So what is a branch? How to create it? And how to use this? And these branches again I have to merge it back, again code retrofitting. So these all will be taken care. So we'll understand this in the next